Hello, you wonderful people. This is something I've talked about before where I've had to kind of reconcile with the fact is that I get so in my own bubble sometimes that when I get outside that bubble, my bubble gets popped in like in a sense of in a very nerdy zeitgeist way. And what I mean by that is I have to come with terms the fact is that I am I like everything type of person, because generally speaking, most things I watch I like, which obviously is not the case with everybody. It's just, you know, the fact is there's just going to be things that some people like and some people don't, which obviously that's a general given thing. But I tend to find myself on the opposite end where I end up liking everything, even the things that people typically don't like. Either they're like, oh, that was okay, or that was mid, or that was terrible. I'll be like, oh, I thought that was good, or I thought that was great. I find myself in that situation time. Once again, it is an opinion-based situation, so not everyone's going to feel the same thing about something. But like, to give you a great example of using the MCU, like 1, 2, and 3 generally well received, and generally most people are like, yeah, we're on board with it. Then phase 4 and 5, you get into that territory where it's like, I wouldn't even call it, some stuff is divisive, some very small minority of things are very well liked, but most things are kind of panned in a lot of ways. But I am someone who could legitimately say everything in phase 4 and 5 I've really liked, especially phase 5 so far. But you know that I speak only for myself. I won't even say I speak for a minority. Like, I'd say I speak only for myself, because generally speaking, the MCU fan base is kind of like about a lot of stuff recently, which I'm not faulting anyone. Like, that's just, once again, that's just supposed to distinguish, like, that's how most people are versus me. That lets you know that's who I am. Even stuff that is generally panned, I'm still like, I really liked it, because for me, for something to be good, all it has to do is grab me. If I feel invested in something, then a show or a movie has done its purpose. Like, that's all it needs to be good for bare minimum, which I think is a generally accepted like barometer. But like, my barometer on like what's considered good and what's not, because there's a lot of like things. Once again, I can understand people's criticisms like, oh, this should have been better, this could have been tweaked better, this and this. I get people's criticisms about things, they just don't bother me. Like, I would like, okay, I see that, but I'll look past it. And that's why I don't really, because that's why I don't grade things, because I'm like, that's such a skewed scale, because that's why I'm like, most of my things are just fall under the scale of like, oh, I thought that was just generally good and enjoyable, or oh, I thought that was great. There's the rare occasions where I'm like, dude, that blew me away, I thought this was awesome type of situation. But like, generally most things I watch are on the scale of good, because like, if I'm able to feel invested, if I care about these characters, which that once again, that varies from person to person. Like, just because I can find myself attached to something doesn't mean it's enough to grasp and hold on to someone, because they're like, that kind of lost me here. Once again, fair criticism. I talk about this a lot. I don't like to critique things because it's just, I don't find any interest in it. That's why for me, when I'm talking about something, it's not from a critique standpoint, like a critic. It's like, no, I just want to talk about it. It's like, oh, you could be like, yes, I'm not blind to things to be like, oh, the CGI could have been better here and there, but it's like, and I don't even call it nitpicking. Like, being critical of something isn't a bad thing. You know, I mean, there's the side of criticism, and we're talking about the extreme fringe side of like, yeah, you're nitpicking the stupid stuff. I'm not talking about that extreme side. I'm just talking about in general, like, critique of like, this should have been better. The script was weak here. The story was weak. The ending. Once again, you're entitled to feel those ways, when it's like legitimately what I consider constructive criticism versus like criticism for like what I consider other, like I said, the fringe examples of like, that's criticism for stupid reasons. At least that's my view of it. But for me, it's just about enjoying the thing as it is and just talking about it. Like I said, that's why I would never ever want to be a critic, because I could never like, like I said, I have no interest in critiquing something, because I was watching something recently. I can't remember what it was. It was a podcast that was kind of in the nerdy space that was talking about the conversation of using the MCU, for example. It's like, right, some people are critical of the MCU because they love it. It's like, yeah, we love this. We love superheroes. We love Marvel, and we're critical, and we want it to be better. But there's also the side, and I'm sure it's a small minority like me, and I might be the only one that fits in this category of, you loved everything, and you thought everything was fun and great, and you don't care about the criticism side of things. Two sides can exist. Neither one is wrong. It's just a personal thing. And my personal thing is just, I just have no interest in criticism. I don't think something's like dumb or stupid. Like I said, because I always invest myself in its characters and their stories and their journeys. So yes, the writing may not always be the greatest, but if I can find investment and enjoyment out of it, then then it serves its purpose. I could see a criticism being lobbied against me because it's like, well, if you like everything, how can you tell when something's good or not? How can your opinion be trusted? Which, once again, it's my opinion, but I'm never going to be like, you have to watch this. I'll always recommend things. I'm like, hey, this is a thing I like. You should check it out. Maybe it's your cup of tea. Maybe it's not. I know I have my range of taste on things that won't always be applicable to people just because I like something. Like, you know, I'm very niche in some of my likes that I don't expect to be like generally like everyone kind of grasping onto. So that's why when I am the way I am, I like everything type of person. Because the best example, because I've even described myself this way, it's like, because Kevin Smith has described himself as yeah, like if I like something, I'm gonna talk about the things that if I don't like something, I won't talk about it. That's generally like been my rule of thumb. I'd even say I'm more Kevin Smith than Kevin Smith in that regard, in that capacity, because there's things that even Kevin Smith is like, yeah, I really didn't dig that, you know? And perfectly fine, which is like perfectly fine. But even some of the things that he hasn't generally liked or really like been all about, you know, because that's obviously like the why him and Mark work so well, because like generally Kevin is like the I like everything person, and Mark is like the whole like, no, let me break down some things I think could have been better, could have been done better. And that's this perfect equilibrium that they have, you know? And that doesn't, even if Kevin doesn't like something, that doesn't, you know, change that interesting conversation and dynamic that him and Mark have on the Fat Man Beyond podcast. But it just, once again, just to show you, like I said, in that way, I feel like I'm more Kevin Smith than Kevin Smith, because I like everything. And that is the thing of like, if I don't like something, I'm not going to talk about it. Even the thing of like, yeah, I'm not the type of person like, oh, I didn't like this, so I'm going to make a video about why I didn't like it. No shade to anyone that's like, yeah, this is why this didn't work for me and why I didn't like it. You're entitled to do that. I'm not trying to tell anyone they can't. It's just like, I have no interest in that. I've never had any interest in that. And that's why like that type of content I avoid, because I personally don't want to make those type of videos, nor do I want to watch those type of videos. You know, once again, I watch reviews from time to time with constructive criticism and stuff like that. But even then, like those have limits where I'm like, I get it, but I'm also like, even like a critical review of something, I'm like, I kind of have no interest in that too. I just want to be like, hey, let's talk about these plot points, this, and it's like, how wild was that? How fun was that? Ooh, what does this mean going forward for MCU, DCU sequels, yada yada, so on and so forth, you know? So just kind of getting you this insight inside of who I am and the way I like I said, the way I kind of view things. Because that's why I approach my reviews the way I do, where it's like, yeah, it's not like a critical breakdown. It's like, hey, here's a recap. Here's my thoughts. This is what I thought might happen. This is what ended up happening. I think this is interesting, getting into the mindset of this character, understanding why they did what they do, and understanding them better and understanding their motivations of what's going to take them on a journey. Like, that's why I approach my reviews that way, rather than a critical review of like, the story was flat, fell flat here, this could have been better, acting, cinematography. Sometimes I'll get in that bag a little bit, but it's very like once in a blue moon type of thing. So that, once again, that gives you even more insight into why I approach things the way I do when I'm talking about movies or TV shows. No real question for this video. I'd love to get to know your thoughts about it. What's kind of your view on, you know, do you align more with my view on things, or you consider yourself maybe I'm kind of a I like everything type of thing of like, hey, I like what I like, and you know, I don't really talk about what I don't like, or are you the type of person that does enjoy a lot more like criticism and just kind of like break down critiques and stuff like that? I'd love to just get to know your thoughts about just kind of like my thought process, and like I said, where you stand in the grand scheme of things. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.